That is a hole in our bedroom ceiling, and no, that was not supposed to be part of getting a new roof. We recently bought the 100-year-old house that we have been renting for the last 5 years, and one of the first major projects was the roof. It was leaking, rotted, it was completely neglected. We have no idea how long this roof had been on here. We knew it needed to be replaced, we just didn't realize how bad it actually was. To give you a backstory on this house was a foreclosure at one point. My landlord bought it about 15 years ago and rented it out. We were the last tenants until we bought it from him in May of 2025. And I know what you are thinking. How did you live in a house like this for 5 years? But when we first moved in, it didn't look like it does right here. There wasn't moss. There wasn't visible leaks. It just looked old. We didn't see this house in person until move-in day. Beforehand, my dad had came to check it out for us. He FaceTimed us because at the time we were still living in Pittsburgh. And from what I could tell through the screen, it looked fine. Outdated, but nothing alarming. When we finally got here, the landlord gave us a full tour, and again, it looked old. That back part of the roof was a little bit rotten, but he told us that the roof was going to be replaced that summer. Now keep in mind, this was March of 2020, the same week that COVID shut everything down. Is that why it never got done? We will never know. But still, as old and as ugly as this house was, it always felt like home. And right away, we knew that we wanted to buy it because we could see the potential that this house had, and we loved all the land that it had. But the thing is, it was just never the right time. We did try in 2022, but it didn't work out. And before you know it, years had passed and here we are now. For the first year or two, things seemed okay. But in 2021, after a big storm, shingles flew off, and that's when the leaks really began. The back of the roof was the worst, especially in that flat section. That was actually an addition at some point. And there was no gutters back there. So every time it rained, water would just pour straight down. It was a waterfall. That flat part had to be completely replaced. And around the chimney, that was one of the worst leak points. Whatever patch job was done here before, it just completely disintegrated. And then there's the back porch, which didn't even seem like it had a real roof. This was a DIY job. We debated about tearing it off, but we had to keep it because without it, water would have just gone straight to the basement, which is a whole nother problem. This next part might sound crazy, but in a few months, this entire back area is going to get torn off anyway. So you might be asking, why are you going through all this trouble to fix it? There's a few reasons. 1, we couldn't go another day living under that roof. 2, insurance. 3, a new roof is going to raise the appraisal value, which we need in order to get a loan for the addition that is going to be in this exact back area. The addition is going to give us a 4th bedroom, a 3rd bathroom, and a way larger kitchen, because right now we're working with all of 4 feet of counter space in our current kitchen. There were a few challenges that we faced during this whole process. The first one we knew going into, and that was the wood slats. I think that's the name, could be wrong. The house was built in 1921, so instead of plywood like modern houses, those big sheets of wood, it had wood planks, which are much smaller. So every damaged section had to be cut and replaced, and that alone took up the first day. Yes, we could have taken everything off, but it would have taken up more time and more money. Something that I never realized with this house is that the joists are 24 inches apart instead of 16 because old houses, which causes some of the areas between the joists to look like there's a dip, also because of the wood planks. Now that the roof is done, it's much less noticeable. Then that flat section that you just saw them working on, that was part of an old addition, but pretty much everything here had to be completely demoed. A lot of the joists had to be replaced. There was a few that we were able to spare, but that is when someone's leg went through. They are okay. The plywood also had to be replaced, and then also the fascia. Although the garage is not as old as the house, it was still in very poor condition and leaked often. There was also no soffit or proper enclosure, so squirrels and other animals would just get in through the gaps. This was their home during the winter. So we closed it all up, added some gutters to keep the water out, and finally fixed what had been ignored for years. It looks so much better. One of the original windows was also broken, so we replaced that. And this old interior door, we swapped it for a proper exterior door and added a smart lock so that way we don't have to fumble with keys when we're out here. As far as the shingle color, we chose Weatherwood by Timberline. These are timeless, neutral, and something that would work with everything else we plan to do. For the first time since we have lived here, we finally have gutters. Now the rainwater doesn't just pour straight down the house. This was our first major project as homeowners, and after years of patch jobs and waiting, it finally feels like we're moving forward. In total, this project took 4 days. The crew was working during a heat wave and took many breaks. We are very thankful for them. We made sure that we gave them plenty of water and Gatorade during this project. But now that the roof is done, we're moving on to waterproofing the basement and then the porch, which is literally sinking. For the porch, we're going to be using Trex decking. We're wrapping the columns in white, new banisters, and yes, a new front door. There's still a long list ahead, inside and out, but after 5 years of waiting, renting, and just making things work, we're finally getting to fix this house the way that we want to.